And I just want to take a moment, bro, and just really just reflect and not to get too deep, but this is one of those moments for me where as a real nigga, I gotta say, I'm excited about the progress that I've made. Um, just to give you guys a little bit of story on how all this started. See, I started Plugged In podcast. I started a podcast called Plugged In. I'm plugged in. If you could actually see what's on my laptop, my background is the Plugged In podcast logo. Plugged In podcast was started almost 6 years ago, I want to say. Started doing it myself on Anchor. Anchor was a easy way to like do podcast apps. That's the air conditioning that just came on. Usually I have that turned off, but you know it's hot as a hecker out there. Hot as a yeah. It's steamy out there. It's real steamy outside, so air gotta be on. It's coming on quite a bit too because it's super hot. But besides that, Plugged In podcast started that a few years back by myself. Was doing it on Anchor. Anchor is no longer even available anymore. Like I think Spotify bought Anchor, so they're doing like I don't know. You gotta look it up. You know, I don't even know if it's available for smartphones. I know it's on the App Store. And that's still what I use to upload my episodes. Started Plugged In podcast with my homeboy Coop. Shout out Coop. What's up, Brody? And Logan, also known as XK, CEO of Slum Clothing and Gas Inc. TV down there in the town. But you know, it's the homies. They don't live here. I live where I'm at. We're not far from each other, but that chemistry that was so dope that we had together, I missed doing it together. You know what I mean? Pause. But there came a point where we weren't super consistent. You know what I mean? And I just wasn't willing to keep going down to the town to make something like that happen. So a lot of time passed. I would say a good year. I was actually working on it was like the pandemic year stuff. So 2020, 2021, 2022. And now, this year, I started doing Out the Way podcast, getting back into the podcast thing. I feel like we really didn't have a lot of success with Plugged In podcast. We did our last episode featuring my partners, my lifetime partners, Will and his big brother Alan. They stepped into the Plugged In podcast, and we was using the library down there in Topeka because they got a whole nice little setup. They got a nice little studio room for a podcast. It's like a whole setup. But now, as you can see, I got my own setup. I started off with a table and some chairs. Before that, I started off with just a chair sitting at a desk. So I went from the little small chair and a desk to a chair and a table. You feel me? Now I got the couch. It's real now. So the whole setup is real. Shout out to everybody tuning in and tapping in and plugging in. Shout out to everybody who has already stepped into the Out the Way podcast and everybody who plans to. So yeah, this was just a quick kind of like a thank you to myself for making this happen. And we're going to continue to keep pushing. I'm going to continue to stay out the way and tap into, you know, everything that's going on. We're going to talk about it. There's some stuff we're not going to talk about because we ain't did a lot of research on it. We're not that very knowledgeable. This is not no bloggers podcast. Even though we will, you know, focus on some of the stuff going on. Because you got to think, bro, I wanted to be a rapper for a long time. You know, I spent most of my 20s chasing something that it took me till I was 30 to realize that, you know, it's not that big of a deal if it don't happen. You know what I mean? In my 20s, you couldn't tell me what to do with my life. That's what I wanted to do. And even though, you know, I wasn't blessed to be put in a position, I still was blessed to be put in the position I'm in today. And so now the focus for Out the Way podcast, you know, we have some episodes where we have some fun. If you go check out the last episode, I had a few guests in the house and we had some fun. But other times, generally when I'm by myself, I'm going to tap into the culture, the hip hop culture, you know, obviously black excellence. And it's not just, you know, for black people only. We welcome anybody that wants to tap into the Out the Way podcast. But we're going to talk about all the crazy stuff that's going on in the hip hop community and how it's kind of like, it's pretty much a lot of negativity in the hip hop community because the kids are listening to it. Don't get me wrong, I still listen to some music that I probably shouldn't be listening to. But normally it's the beat for me. If the beat's slapping, you're going to find Mike listening to it, period. 9 times out of 10. Shout out to Wifey. Shout out to everybody who has ever doubted me. Shout out to God. Make sure you guys stay out the way. Follow us on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube for the Out the Way podcast on YouTube. Make sure you tap into Spotify. And I'm a little lazy right now as far as getting the episodes up on Apple Podcasts. Shout out to my iPhone users. If you specifically just use Apple Podcasts, I'm sorry. We're working on that. They got it. Spotify got it set up now to where it's very easy to get your episode on Spotify, and I haven't quite dug deep into how to get it distributed. You know, every other episode distributed to all platforms. You know what I mean? It's like streaming, but for podcasts. So yeah, thanks for watching. See you guys in a bit.